This is our second part of working with clay in Mrs. Criswell's room. Now, I'd like to make sure you understand we need the following tools. You need to get started a partner, and your partner and yourself share canvas, whether it's large or small, depending on what you're working on. You need to share rolling boards if you're going to roll out clay. You also need to have a rolling pin. Make sure it's laying safely so it doesn't roll off the table. You also need a fork to score. You need a drawing tool in order to draw on your clay. You need a carving tool in order to carve. That is your palette knife. You need a wooden tool to smooth, and you also need a smaller tool. Might be wood, might be plastic. You also, at this point, need slip. And slip can be found by the sink. Slip is just dried clay that we've re-moistened using water. This one's a little dry, so we add a small amount of water. We are not worrying about how much slip is in there if it's a good halfway point. You're going to be using the slippery water and the little goo that's right underneath it to keep your clay moist and to help join it. If you're ready to come up for clay, you would come around the table, depending on where I am in the classroom. And you're going to bring up your picture so that I know exactly what you're working on. And you're going to say, Miss Criswell, I'm ready to work on. Not, can I have clay? Can I have clay? May I have some clay? Those are all very nice statements, but I'd really love it if you tell me what you're working on, whether it's an appendage, whether it's a side, a detail. Just give me the idea of what you want to work on next. And we're taking turns. So I'm going to cut out some clay for you, and I'll basically try to give you the idea of how much clay you need and what direction to roll it if you're rolling it in. Once I hand you the clay, you bring it to your table, lay it in the middle, put the rolling boards about 3 fingers, maybe 4 fingers apart. Make sure your other hand tools and slip are out of the way while you roll. Move the rolling pin back and forth. If you find that it's not spreading out well, start in the middle, roll forward. Start in the middle, roll back. It should be an even roll with the rolling boards when you're done. When you're working with templates, we need to have this bottom and sides if it's a container sculpture. If it's a sculpture of an animal, that would be different. But we're working in container sculpture today. So we need a bottom of the container and its sides to wrap around. So these are the templates I would need for my container sculpture. At this point, I would lay it on the clay as close to an edge as I can find, not trying to go in the middle, and I would trace with the tracing tool, the drawing tool. Trace around like you're tickling the clay. And remove the template. When you're done, take your carving tool and carve on the tracing lines. These extra scraps of clay, please don't roll them into little balls. We need them for other things, and I like to wedge them later. So we've got a circle for the base. I want to write my name at the bottom. I'm going to write Mrs. C. Please don't write Mrs. C. Write your own name. This is going to go on a sculpture base. So our sculpture bases are what we store our clay in. You can find a square template. You need a piece of tape. Placing it on the base somewhere that's going to store your sculpture and place your name on it. Of course, you would write somebody, not Mrs. Criswell. That's where my sculpture base goes. So now I'm being an organized sculptor. At this point, I'm ready to roll more clay for my sides of my container. Please bring up your template so that I can give you clay, unless I ask you to bring up your picture as well. I'm so excited to do clay. Place it in the center. Have 3 or 4 fingers away from the rolling boards. Stand when you roll. Make sure you're going from the center away from the center. If you're just going to keep rolling back and forth, you might have a longer period of time to roll. It goes much quicker when you go from the center up and the center back. Place your rolling pin in a safe position and check to see if your template fits. Most of the time they fit. If they don't let that bother you. We can stretch it. It's clay. I'm going to trace it with my tracer, my drawing tool. I have a little corner of an edge that didn't fit, and I'm not going to worry about it because I can stretch it later. It's clay. Then I'm going to carve it with my carving tool. And all the extra scraps that I have, I want to give them to, I'm going to bring them back up to the table where I received clay. Because Miss Criswell wants to use them, that's me. I want to use them for something else. Other people might use them and need them. This is the sides of my sculpture. Peels right off of the canvas. Now it might be long, that we can trim. So I've got my 2 pieces for my sculpture ready to go.